The verdict of stars. The Universal Assembly Chamber floated in the void between galaxies, a massive structure built by civilizations older than human history. Commander Elena Vasquez stood at the center of the circular platform, surrounded by holographic projections of representatives from 843 species. The air tasted metallic through her helmet's filters, a mixture of atmospheric compounds that allowed hundreds of different life forms to breathe in the same space. Elena's hands were steady, but her heart hammered against her ribs. She had rehearsed this moment for months, preparing arguments and appeals that might save her species. Behind her, 3 other humans stood silent. Lieutenant Marcus Webb, their military advisor, Dr. Sarah Kim, their chief scientist, and old Ambassador Thomas Gray, who had first made contact with alien life 30 years ago. The Archon of the Assembly, a towering crystalline being named Zethral, raised 3 of its 6 arms. The chamber fell silent. Even the constant hum of translation devices seemed to fade. The matter before this assembly is clear. Zethral's voice resonated through every translator simultaneously. Humanity has expanded to 73 worlds in 3 decades. They have reverse-engineered technologies that took other species millennia to develop. They have built weapons that rival our most advanced designs. The question is simple. Do we allow this dangerous species to continue unchecked? Elena stepped forward. We have broken no laws. We have attacked no one. We have only sought to survive and grow, as every species has the right to do. A delegate from the Korath Dominion, a reptilian creature with bronze scales, rose from its projection platform. You speak of rights, human, but you ignore reality. Your species learns too quickly. You adapt too fast. In another generation, you will be a threat to every civilization in this galaxy. Learning is not a crime, Elena said, her voice carrying across the chamber. Adaptation is not aggression. But potential is destiny, replied another delegate, this one from the Vaxen Collective. The insectoid creature's mandibles clicked as it spoke. Your history shows us what you are capable of. Thousands of years of war among yourselves, weapons that poisoned your own world, violence that nearly destroyed your species. Now you bring that violence to the stars. Dr. Kim spoke up, her voice tight with controlled anger. We have evolved beyond our violent past. We seek only peace and knowledge. So you claim, said a third delegate, a gaseous being that shimmered inside a containment field. But we have studied your biology, your psychology, your cultural patterns. Humans are predators by nature. You think in terms of competition and conquest. It is coded into your very genes. The debate raged for hours. Elena presented evidence of human cooperation, of treaties honored, of aid given to struggling colonies. The assembly countered with projections and predictions, mathematical models that showed humanity becoming the dominant force in the galaxy within 2 centuries. Finally, Zethral called for silence. The assembly will now vote on resolution Sci-Fi 1, the Reformation Program for Species. Designation human, all in favor of placing humanity under controlled labor status for the security of the galactic community. Elena felt her stomach drop. Controlled labor status. It was a clean phrase for an ugly reality. Slavery. The holographic displays lit up around the chamber. Blue lights for yes, red lights for no. Elena watched in horror as the lights appeared. Blue, blue, blue. A sea of blue washing across the chamber like a tide of judgment. 843 species voted. 843 lights appeared. Every single one burned blue. Not one species stood with humanity. Lieutenant Webb's hands clenched into fists. Ambassador Gray closed his eyes. Dr. Kim made a small sound, something between a gasp and a sob. Zethral's voice echoed through the silence. The resolution passes unanimously. Humanity has 72 hours to surrender all military assets and prepare for workforce integration. Failure to comply will result in immediate military action. Elena found her voice, though it came out raw and broken. You are making a mistake. Humanity will not forget this. Humanity will learn its place, Zethral replied. This assembly is adjourned. The holographic projections vanished, leaving the 4 humans alone in the massive chamber. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Webb turned to Elena. Commander, what are our orders? Elena looked at the empty space where 843 species had just condemned her people. We go home. We warn Earth. and we prepare for what comes next. The journey back to Earth took 18 hours. Elena spent every moment of it composing messages, coordinating with military command, trying to find some way out of the trap that had closed around humanity. But the math was brutal. Earth had 60 warships. The combined forces of the Universal Assembly numbered in the hundreds of thousands. They arrived to find Earth already mobilizing. Every military installation was at maximum alert. Cities were being evacuated. Orbital defenses were powered up, though everyone knew they would not be enough. Dr. James Chen, director of Earth's Defense Center, met them at the landing platform. His face was gaunt with exhaustion. We picked up the Assembly's broadcast. The whole planet knows. We have riots in 17 major cities. 3 governments have already collapsed. How long until they arrive? Elena asked. 61 hours. They are not wasting time. Can we fight? Chen's laugh was bitter. Fight? Commander, they are bringing 7,000 ships just for the initial wave. We would last maybe 20 minutes, so we surrender. We have no choice. The President will make the announcement in 3 hours. We are to stand down all military forces and prepare for what they are calling workforce integration. Elena looked up at the sky, knowing that somewhere beyond it an invasion fleet was already moving. What about the colonies? The settlements on Mars, Europa, Titan? Already under attack. We are getting reports now. They hit the colonies first, taking the populations before anyone could organize resistance. It is coordinated, efficient, and overwhelming. The surrender broadcast went out 48 hours later. Elena watched it from the Defense Center, standing beside Chen and her team. The President's face filled every screen on Earth, his voice carrying to every human in the solar system. My fellow humans, today we face the darkest moment in our history. The Universal Assembly has demanded our submission, and we have no power to resist. In 1 hour, their forces will arrive. They will take control of our military, our governments, and our industries. Many of us will be selected for off-world labor assignments. Families will be separated. Our freedom will be stripped away. I have been assured that we will be treated humanely, that this is merely a precaution until humanity proves itself trustworthy. I do not believe these assurances, but I have no choice but to accept them. To resist is to condemn our species to extinction, so I ask you all to cooperate, to endure, and to remember who we are. We are human. We are survivors. This is not the end of our story. It is merely the darkest chapter. The broadcast ended. Elena turned to Chen. What will you do? The old scientist looked at the screens showing the incoming fleet. I will do what humans have always done when faced with impossible odds. I will survive. I will remember. And when the time comes, I will ensure that every species that voted for this pays the price. The invasion fleet arrived exactly on schedule. Massive ships descended on Earth's major cities, disgorging troops and occupation forces. There was no battle, no dramatic last stand. Humanity simply surrendered, watching as their world was taken from them. The selection process began immediately. Young adults between 18 and 35 were prioritized. Strong workers, intelligent minds, skilled laborers. They were loaded onto transport ships by the thousands, then by the millions. Families screamed as they were torn apart. Children reached for parents they would never see again. Old people watched their grandchildren disappear into alien vessels. Elena was selected on the second day. She was marched onto a transport with 2,000 other humans, crammed into a cargo hold designed for half that number. As the ship lifted off, she looked through a small viewport at Earth shrinking below. The blue planet that had been humanity's home for all of history, now surrounded by the ships of their conquerors. Lieutenant Webb was somewhere on another transport. Dr. Kim had been taken to a different ship. Ambassador Gray had been too old for labor selection. He remained on Earth with the other non-productive humans who would be allowed to live out their remaining years under occupation. The journey to Elena's assigned destination took 3 weeks. The transport made multiple stops, dropping off humans at various stations and colonies across dozens of star systems. Each time the doors opened, more of her fellow prisoners were taken. Each time the hold became a little less crowded, a little more empty. Elena was one of the last to be offloaded. Her destination was a mining colony on the edge of Korath space, a massive asteroid that had been hollowed out and converted into a processing facility. She was assigned to Extraction Team 7, working 18-hour shifts pulling rare minerals from the asteroid's core. The work was brutal. The conditions were barely survivable, and the Korath overseers made it clear that humans were property now, nothing more than tools to be used until they broke. But Elena noticed something the Korath did not. In the quiet moments between shifts, humans whispered to each other. They shared information. They memorized guard patterns and shift schedules. They studied the alien technology around them, understanding how it worked, finding its weaknesses. And slowly, carefully, they began to plan. On Mars, Marcus Webb worked in an industrial fabrication plant, building components for Korath warships. He memorized every schematic he saw, noting design flaws and vulnerabilities. On Europa, Sarah Kim was assigned to a research facility, forced to help develop new technologies for the Vaccine Collective. She learned their scientific methods and quietly stole data whenever possible. Across 400 worlds, millions of humans endured. They worked. They suffered. They watched their captors carefully, learning everything they could. And on Earth, in hidden facilities deep underground, the remaining humans were building something. Dr. Chen led the effort, coordinating with resistance cells across the planet. They had surrendered, yes, but surrender was not the same as defeat. 15 years passed. To the Universal Assembly, humanity seemed broken and compliant. Production reports showed humans working efficiently across the galaxy. Rebellion incidents decreased year by year. The experiment seemed successful. They did not see the weapons being built in Earth's hidden factories. They did not notice the communications network humanity had constructed, invisible to their sensors. They did not realize that every human slave was also a spy, collecting information and waiting for the signal. Commander Elena Vasquez stood in the mining facility, her body scarred by 15 years of hard labor, her spirit hardened into something cold and patient. She had just received a message, passed through the human network in a code the aliens could never break. 3 words that changed everything. The storm comes. Elena smiled for the first time in 15 years. The galaxy had made a terrible mistake. They had scattered millions of humans across hundreds of worlds thinking it would break them. Instead, they had created an army that knew their enemies from the inside. An army that had spent 15 years learning, planning, and preparing. The reckoning was about to begin. The reckoning dawned. The signal went out on a Tuesday, by Earth's old calendar. Most humans no longer thought in terms of days or weeks, only in shifts and rest periods. But the old calendar mattered, because it marked exactly 15 years since the vote that had enslaved them. 15 years to the hour. Commander Elena Vasquez received the activation code during the morning shift change. It came through a modified mining tool, a vibrational pattern that meant nothing to the Korath sensors but everything to the humans who had spent years developing it. The pattern said, Phase 1, execute. Elena finished her shift as normal. She ate the protein paste they called food as normal. She returned to her quarters as normal, but when the lights dimmed for sleep cycle, she did not sleep. None of the humans did. In the darkness of the mining facility, 2,000 humans moved with silent purpose. They had rehearsed this moment in whispers and gestures for years. Every person knew their role. Every action had been planned and replanned until it became instinct. Team 1 disabled the security cameras using a virus Sarah Kim had designed 5 years ago. Passed through the human network node by node until every facility had it. Team 2 accessed the facility's atmospheric controls, flooding the Korath guard quarters with a gas mixture that would not kill, but would render them unconscious for 6 hours. Team 3 seized the armory using access codes that had been stolen and memorized over a decade. By the time the Korath realized something was wrong, it was already over. The facility was in human hands, and in orbit above the asteroid something impossible appeared on sensors. Ships. Human ships. Not the outdated vessels Earth had possessed 15 years ago, but something new. Sleek black vessels that seemed to drink in light rather than reflect it. They moved with impossible grace powered by technology that should not exist. The Korath sent a distress signal. It never transmitted. The communications satellites had already been seized by human infiltrators who had been working in the station's technical division. Across the Korath Dominion, the pattern repeated. Mining facilities fell. Manufacturing plants fell. Research stations fell. Every location with a significant human labor population became a war zone. And every battle was over before the Korath understood they were under attack. Captain Maria Santos commanded the lead assault ship in the Liberation Fleet. She had been a shuttle pilot before the enslavement, one of the lucky few who had managed to escape Earth before the blockade closed. For 15 years she had been part of Earth's secret project, the one the occupation forces never discovered. "Target the Korath military shipyards," she ordered. Her crew moved with practiced efficiency. They had trained for this moment their entire lives, children born in hiding who had grown up learning to fly and fight. The shipyards were massive, capable of producing hundreds of warships per year. They were also completely unprepared. The Korath had grown complacent, comfortable in their superiority. Their defensive systems were designed to stop external attacks, not strikes from the human workers who maintained them from the inside. Explosions lit up the void. Docking bays ruptured. Construction frames collapsed. In 30 minutes, the Korath Dominion lost the industrial capacity it had taken them 3 centuries to build. "Status report," Maria said calmly. "All primary targets destroyed. Human workers have been evacuated. 0 casualties on our side. Korath military response time is estimated at 4 hours. Then we have 3 hours to finish the job. Move to the secondary targets." On Earth, Dr. James Chen watched the operation unfold from the rebuilt defense center. Holographic displays showed the status of 400 simultaneous strikes across the galaxy. Each one was precisely timed, each one executed flawlessly. "Sir, we are receiving confirmation from the Vaxin territories. All research facilities have been secured. Dr. Kim is reporting total success." Chen nodded. Sarah had been the key to so much of this. Her years in the Vaxin research facility had given humanity access to technologies they never would have developed on their own. She had memorized everything, understood everything, and then improved upon everything. "What about the Universal Assembly Station?" "Commander Vasquez's team is in position. They are waiting for your signal." Chen looked at the chronometer. 15 years and 6 hours since the vote. "Send the signal. Let them know we are coming." The Universal Assembly Station was where it had always been, floating in neutral space. Zethral was in the central chamber when the alarms began. The crystalline being's first thought was that it was a drill, perhaps a test of emergency systems. Then the reports started coming in. "Korath space under attack. Vaxin colonies seized, mining facilities across the galaxy falling to unknown forces." The feeds showed impossible ships, weapons that bypassed shields, coordinated strikes that suggested planning on a scale that should have taken decades. "Who is attacking us?" Zethral demanded. The answer came not from the station's sensors, but from a broadcast that overrode every communication channel in the galaxy. A human face appeared on every screen, every display, every holographic projector. It was a woman, scarred and hard-eyed, standing in what looked like a military command center. "My name is Commander Elena Vasquez. 15 years ago, you voted to enslave my species. 843 civilizations decided that humanity was too dangerous to be free, too unpredictable to be trusted. You scattered us across the galaxy thinking distance would break us. You forced us to work your minds, build your ships, and serve your purposes. You thought you had solved the human problem." Elena's smile was cold as vacuum. "You were wrong. Every human you enslaved became a student of your weaknesses. Every facility we worked in became a target we understood completely. Every year you kept us in chains was a year we spent preparing for this moment. You wanted to know what humans do when cornered? Now you will learn." The broadcast cut to footage of the attacks. Korath shipyards exploding, Vaxin research facilities in human hands, mining colonies liberated, military installations destroyed. The images showed precision and power that made the Assembly's own forces look primitive. "This is not conquest," Elena continued. "This is justice. Every species that voted for our enslavement will face consequences. Your military capabilities will be dismantled. Your industrial centers will be reduced. You will learn what it means to be powerless." Zethral watched in growing horror as the scope of the attack became clear. This was not a raid or a rebellion. This was a coordinated war that had been planned for 15 years, executed by an enemy that knew everything about them. "But," Elena said, and her voice softened slightly, "we are not you. We will not exterminate. We will not enslave. Species that opposed our enslavement will be protected. Civilians will not be harmed. This is not about revenge. It is about ensuring this never happens again." The broadcast ended. In the silence that followed, Zethral realized the truth. Humanity had not been broken by enslavement. They had been forged by it. Across the galaxy, the liberation continued. Maria Santos led strikes against military targets in 6 star systems, each one executed with surgical precision. The human forces moved like ghosts, appearing without warning and vanishing before reinforcements could arrive. In the Vaxin territories, Sarah Kim coordinated the shutdown of their technological infrastructure. Every system humanity had been forced to build or maintain had hidden vulnerabilities that she had carefully designed years ago. With a few commands, she rendered the Vaxin, collective's advanced civilization, helpless. They are trying to negotiate, her communications officer reported. Tell them we will consider negotiations once they have released every human in their territory. Until then, every hour they delay costs them another industrial complex. The Vaxin released their human workers within 3 hours. On the mining asteroid, Elena walked through corridors that had been her prison for 15 years. The Korath overseers were contained in their own quarters, locked in by the systems they had used to control humans. She stopped at the cell that had been hers, looking at the narrow bed and bare walls. Lieutenant Marcus Webb found her there. He had arrived with the Liberation Fleet, thinner than she remembered but alive. Commander, the transport ships are ready. We can begin evacuation. Not yet. First, we send a message. Elena returned to the facility's control center and opened a broadcast to the Korath homeworld. When the military leadership appeared on the screen, their reptilian faces showed something humans rarely saw. Fear. I am giving you one chance, Elena said. Release every human in your territory. Shut down your military production. Accept monitoring by human forces. Do this and your civilization survives. Refuse and we will dismantle it piece by piece. You cannot do this, the Korath general hissed. We are a proud species. We do not bow to threats. Elena's expression did not change. Then you will kneel to consequences. You have 24 hours. The Korath tried to refuse. Their pride demanded it. But when human forces destroyed 3 of their core industrial worlds in a single coordinated strike, making them uninhabitable for Korath biology, while leaving them perfectly safe for other species, the Dominion surrendered. The pattern repeated across the galaxy. Species that had enslaved humans faced a simple choice: comply with humanity's demands or watch their civilizations reduced to scattered colonies. Some chose pride and suffered. Some chose survival and submitted. The Universal Assembly tried to organize a defensive coalition. It failed. Too many species were already dealing with human attacks. Too many had lost their military capacity. And too many realized that humanity's demands were not actually unreasonable. Disarmament, reparations, and a guarantee that slavery would never be practiced again. 3 months after the liberation began, representatives from 412 species gathered at a new station built by humans. They came not as conquerors but as supplicants, seeking terms of peace. Elena stood before them, no longer a prisoner but the voice of humanity's military command. Behind her, Marcus Webb and Sarah Kim represented the millions of humans who had survived enslavement. The old assembly is dissolved, Elena announced. It failed in its fundamental purpose to protect the weak from the strong. Instead, it became a tool of the strong to exploit the weak. That ends now. She activated a holographic display showing new laws, new structures, new systems of enforcement. This is the Terran Accord. Every species will disarm to defensive levels only. Any attempt to enslave, conquer, or dominate another species will be met with immediate human intervention. Trade will be free and fair, colonies will be protected, and humans will serve as guarantors of the peace. A Vaxin representative dared to speak. You are making yourselves rulers of the galaxy. No, Sarah Kim replied. We are making ourselves guardians. There is a difference. We do not want your resources or your territory. We want to ensure no species ever faces what we faced. And if we refuse? Asked a Korath delegate. Marcus Webb answered that one. Then you have learned nothing. Humanity survived enslavement. We learned from our suffering. We became stronger. Do you really want to test whether we are willing to fight another war? No one answered. The silence was answer enough. The Terran Accord was signed by 387 species that day. The others would sign in the months that followed, as they realized humanity was serious about enforcing peace. Elena stood on the observation deck of the new station. looking out at the ships of 100 different species. They had come as enemies. They would leave as reluctant partners in a new order. "Do you think it will work?" Marcus asked, joining her. "I think we have no choice but to try. The galaxy proved it cannot police itself, so we will do it for them." "We are still human," Sarah said quietly. "We still have our capacity for violence, for cruelty. What happens when we become what we fought against?" Elena looked at her reflection in the viewport, seeing not the slave she had been, but the commander she had become. "Then someone stronger than us will rise up and tear us down. That is how it should be. That is how we ensure no one stays in power long enough to become tyrants." "Heavy words, Commander." "Heavy times, Lieutenant." Elena turned from the viewport. "But we survived. Humanity survives, and now we make sure everyone else gets the same chance." The galaxy had enslaved humanity, thinking they were too dangerous to be free. They were right about the danger. They were wrong about everything else. Humans in chains became humans with purpose. Scattered across the stars, they became an unstoppable force. The galaxy had forgotten what humans do when cornered. Now they would remember. And they would never make that mistake again. In the years that followed, human ships would patrol the trade routes, enforce the accord, and stand between the weak and the strong. It was not the future humanity had dreamed of when they first reached for the stars, but it was the future they had earned with blood and suffering and an unbreakable refusal to accept defeat. The galaxy had tried to break them. Instead, it had created guardians, and the universe would be better for it whether the universe liked it or not.